Well, I'm sorry you guys had to watch that. That was probably one of the worst baseball games I've ever seen, right? Carlos Rodon, by the way, we'll get the good stuff out the way. Carlos Rodon was excellent. He was very good. 88 pitches, and you'd think that you'd think he had plenty of juice to get through the next part of the game. And Aaron Boone decided that it was Johnny Lowe's time to shine. And that didn't work out, obviously. Unfortunately, he's hurt again. He's down. We've talked about this as well. Availability is the stability, and he has not shown he can do that. But before that happened, and he gave up 3 runs, and you're looking at a 3-3 game right in the face. I think most Yankees fans were saying, oh man, this seems like it's going to head to the 9th, and if it ends up in the 10th, that's probably an L for the Yankees. And then all of a sudden, you start seeing some situations, you're like, oh wow, it's just right in our face. You can have some situational outs, and I thought Michael Kay dealt with it beautifully. I think, Jake, you and I were talking about it. He actually talked about some of the outs that we just wasted. At bats, we wasted today. Austin Wells, right? Trent Grisham, you're just throwing away outs. We just were. And some people were saying we can bunt. We don't really have the personnel for that. We just don't. But simple concepts like having a left-handed batter up there, second base, less than 2 outs, 0 outs. It's very simple. Pull the baseball, put the ball in play. Couldn't do that. And we deserved to lose. We did. So wouldn't say I was rooting for the Yankees to lose. I never do that. Rarely ever. I can't say never. But Jake, Tiger Zen with the 5 says Yankees in extra innings. I think the numbers tell a story, certainly. 063, 205, 063, 32 at-bats, 2 hits. 2 hits in 32 at-bats. 0 extra base hits. This is the kicker. 1 sac fly in 32 at-bats, ladies and gentlemen. We have 1 sac fly, and get this, 2 runs scored. I'll tell you what, we really have to stop looking at the numbers and start asking why. Why does it occur? Because you can't say the whole team sucks. They just don't. We've actually got quite a bit of talent, and you can definitely suggest that the Yankees have some guys at certain positions where maybe they think there's more talent over there than maybe that there is. But Jake, what's going on with this Yankees team? Because this is beyond a pattern. This is now our identity. We are one of the worst, if not the worst, situational baseball team you've ever watched. And it's just shocking that you look up and see our record and we're in first place. What the hell is going on?
Well, I mean, thank you, Tiger Zen, for leading us off. That was a great way to lead us into the show.
Awesome.
So we found out that when they go to extra innings, the entire team, tries to impersonate Pablo Reyes to make him feel better about himself. I don't get it. Yeah, today sucked. I think honestly, losing 10-0 would have been much better for this team. They were not in a position to take a 5-4 loss in 11 innings and use all of their bullpen. And have to dive into some position players and have an injury to one of their important bullpen arms. Yeah, today just sucked.
Mark Leiter Jr. worked like a dog today.
Yeah, and the defense did him no favors either. So it is what it is. Obviously the game's over with, so we can't change it. But what I will say is Rodon did an excellent job today. And Boone, we'll start off with this. Boone failed miserably, taking him out with 88 pitches. I think if there's one guy on the roster that could probably go 110 pitches if need be, it is Carlos Rodon. He is a power pitcher, okay? He is. And I just don't understand the rationale behind taking him out when he's pitching so well. The Reds had no answer. They had 4 weightless hits. Weightless. No runs came of it. They take him out and instantly the floodgates opened. And then, obviously, that's not what led to the injury. The injury just happens, right? But it was just so incredibly frustrating. And you know what's weird is the last time I saw the Yankees, the last time the Yankees and Reds played at the stadium, I was there. And I don't remember, it was 2 years ago, I believe. And there was an injury in that game, too. Do you remember the game when Severino got absolutely destroyed? He just kept giving up home runs, and then they
Oh,
took him
yes,
out
I do remember
he
that,
was
yes.
injured.
Yes.
And he never really pitched. I don't think he ever pitched again for the Yankees. Yeah, I was at that game. They ended up winning that game.
We should never go to any games at all.
No, they won that game on a walk-off. It was DJ LeMahieu who walk-off wild pitch.
I don't even remember us winning that game, but I mean,
I'll
I'll say though
they won.
is, did it even matter if it was Carlos Rodon? So like, obviously we want to give Carlos Rodon his props, give him his flowers, because we talked about the conditions. It's warm, right? Our broadcast was saying the ball's in the air. It's a threat. It is. And Rodon essentially, right, you control that type of game. You just did. I heard it was like a 1-2-3 game where it was like you get a $3 beer, a $2 hot dog. Dude, I'd be sick by the time I left there. I really would. I don't even like beer, but if it's going to be $3, maybe I'll try it.
Wait, Gary, do you still go for your walks after games?
No, I'm in Arizona, so it's like 112 out at night. Okay. So the walks are dead. Yeah, we get dressed for the indoors. But I will tell you this. Rodon did a brilliant job of just not just staying in the game, but he controlled this game, right? A game that very easily could get away from you, right? The Reds, they haven't lost they haven't been swept the whole year, right? They're finding ways to win games. Then obviously you get the shot in the arm with Burns today, and you saw the stuff he had. He struck out the first 5 guys. So it was easy to let this game get away from you. You can sort of make excuses and say, we've played a million days in a row. We can't wait till Thursday, our day off. He could have come up with any excuse. He didn't make them. But I reckon it doesn't even matter who was pitching today. When you look up and see 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, Jake, you mentioned, they were loud. They weren't loud hits. They weren't. None of them really put any pressure on. They were relatively stress-free innings. And you don't give up a single run. You've got control. 1 walk, 5 Ks. You're controlling the baseball game. You just have to ask yourself the simple question. Would I rather, as a hitter, come up there against a pitcher who's got that type of line in the day? It could have been Will Warren. If Will Warren's got that line, do I want to see Johnny Lowe out the bullpen? No. Do I want to see Mark Leiter Jr. out the bullpen? Even as good as he's been? No. You just use the pitcher that's got it going. And if the pitch count determines you have to pull him, then pull his behind. But when you've got 88 pitches and you're paid over $180 million, I promise you, this guy's built to go past that point. Aaron Boone, I can say, I believe he lost us the game today with that simple decision. Now, a ton happened after that. There were many ways, Jake, that we could have been bailed out. But when you bring in Johnny Lowe in that situation, you're just asking for something stupid to happen, and certainly something stupid did happen.
Yeah, and just look at the way he used the bullpen today. I mean, Rodon, Loaizaga, Cruz, Weaver, Williams, Leiter. In a 5-4 game. Jesus. Yeah, 55 pitches in 2 days. I love that Tiger Zen brings that up, because that is, in fact, on Boone. And look, I'm not calling for Boone's job, but there have been... It's not just grown men that aren't doing well, and I do believe a lot of that has to do with it, but it's stuff like this. This is where Boone controls. There's not a ton of the game that Boone can control, and if you don't have the fundamentals down that you had, whatever, if the players don't know how to bunt, like at some point or another, that there needs to be some accountability there. But like
you're saying like how to bunt, or that to understand that there should be bunting? Because I just want to make that clear.
How to bunt. Because like literally none of these players know how. And that is to me pathetic. I know how to bunt. Okay, that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry, you're in the MLB. I don't care if it's Judge. I don't care if it's Volpe. Everyone should be able to lay down a major league bunt. That's pathetic. Just like how it's like now base running is optional. You notice that? How base running fundamentals is now optional. And there's
more so just ops. Like, can you draw a walk? Can you slug? Can you field your position? If you can do those 3 things, dude, you can look at your agent and be like, yeah, give me $20 million a year. And I understand it. That this is
such a
technically speaking, it's what GMs are asking for. So I get why the players don't know how to bunt. Like, truly, I do. If you really think about it, Jake, they're just not paying guys to know the fundamentals. They just don't care. Look at the New York Yankees. Is there ever been a time since let's go back to 2020, right? COVID season. Has there ever been a time where you were like, the Yankees are a dominant fundamental baseball club. Has there ever been a time? No. There's never been a time. We've slugged. We've tried to set records in terms of home runs, right? We've strucken out a ton in our rotation. But at no point would you ever say, regardless of who was on the team, right? Glaber's on the team. We had this conversation earlier. Glaber's on the team. He's leading off for you. Or he's off the team the following year, right? Juan Soto's on your team. Ton of differences in terms of roster. And yet somehow, some way, in extra innings, it's the same ball club. I believe there's a reason why. I'll let people put it together themselves. I'm not going to tell you guys what to think, but there is a common denominator. And what people want me to believe is this is simply the players' fault, right? This is just the players don't understand how to bunt. The players aren't being asked to bunt. The players aren't being demanded to make quality outs. Michael K brought it up. He's like, how can you not make the attempt to hit the ball on the ground there? How's that possible? Well, no one's demanding them to. So why would they try? Why wouldn't they just continue to go up there, try to hit a home run, and be the hero? Because you know what? There's going to be a day where they are the hero. And we're so excited for that one player. He gets to be, right, the guy we're spraying champagne on him.
And how many games will they lose with that approach in the process? Exactly.
Look how many games we've lost. It's disappointing, but these players aren't being demanded to be all-around baseball players. And I think that goes back to one man, and that is Aaron Boone. So you can say what you want about we're not calling for his firing, but we can point to his responsibility. You have a bunch of different players coming in and out of your locker room, and yet somehow, some way, they all end up in the deep end of the pool, not understanding how to play at these moments of the game. It's sickening.
No, it definitely is. Rich, we appreciate the 10. You take out Rodon and Boone puts in Leiter. Out of all available pitchers, Boone puts in Leiter. Then he doubles down, lets him go a second inning. Russian roulette, anyone? I assume you mean Leiter because of he was just used last night. Because I'll defend Leiter. I think his ERA is vastly, inflated.
Yeah, he's better than that.
He
is 394
way better than
sort
that.
of overrated.
Tim Hill has a 250 ERA. Okay, who would you take tomorrow? Tim Hill or Mark Leiter Jr.?
Tim Hill feels like it's 20.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, but no, I agree. You're essentially playing Russian roulette when you have. That's when the pitch count does matter. See the irony there? So Rodon, who's equipped to handle 88 pitches and more. And by the way, today he wasn't going for the strikeout, if you know what I mean. He was actually fine with the soft contact pop-ups and all of that, soft lineouts. So that 88 pitches, he could have made very economical, and he could have gotten in that full inning. I'm not kidding. I really think he could have today. Some days where he's going for the strikeout and he's going for it. No, today I think he could have. That said, when you have Mark Leiter Jr., who has thrown 55 pitches in 2 games, you didn't manage his pitch count. And this isn't a guy that is supposed to be pitching that much at all. And as you've brought up to me before, and this is what we've talked about off air about pitch count, is that think about how many just pitches they're throwing in warm-ups. Those still count. You're still using your arm. It's like the idea of oh yeah, I was doing I did my sets, but earlier in the day you did push-ups. It's no, that doesn't count because I did it at home. I didn't do it in the gym. That's not a real thing. Of course, it still matters. You're not including it in your workout, but it's still your body's still going to be affected by it. It's no different than when you go up on a mound and you throw 10 to 15 warm-up pitches. Guess what? Throwing off a rubber, you are throwing pitches, as you brought up. So, yeah, that's the thing that bothers me. And it feels like this happens quite often with Boone, where he'll do something, and on that one hand, we were just talking about yesterday, how it's no. Ben Rice doesn't play against lefties, but Jason Dominguez, even though he can't hit at all from the right side, we're going to continue to try that because we believe at some point it will work out. But Ben Rice, he's doomed against lefties. It's this wishy-washy kind of hypocritical behavior where you do it on one side, but you don't follow through on the other. And to me, it's no different. It's about the same. It's really about the same thing. Pitch count was the issue. He thought Rodon at 88 pitches was too much, which is ridiculous. but he didn't care that he had 55 for Mark Leiter Jr. in 2 games. I understand he's dealing with some stuff. He's dealing with the fact that his bullpen guy just went down. They just pitched a game earlier in the week or whatever, where that kind of put them behind the 8 ball. Yerry De Los Santos got hurt. I understand that, right? But what I don't understand is when you have, Leiter Jr. there, how do you have him go 55 in 2 games like that? He's not conditioned for that. That to me was ridiculous.
I think they looked at it and just said, well, Leiter Jr. is probably our best option. He's the guy with the most guts in our bullpen. And right, Weaver isn't necessarily like himself yet, right? So I think they sort of look at it, and they talked about it on the broadcast, is he's unshaken. You can't shake him. He's going to be the same guy, right? You saw him cover the bases, and I thought Leiter Jr. actually pitched well. I had no problem at all, really, with the arms. Like, even Johnny Lowe, he's going to give up runs. He's Johnny Lowe, right? He's not Mariano. He's going to have cold stretches. He's going to be red hot at other times. He's going to be hurt all the time. That's who he is. He's got great stuff, and this is him. So if you're expecting something more, I hate to tell you the bad news, but that is what he is. But I'm going to say this. I wanted to talk about, I'm going to get to the super chat, so I'll take it off the screen just for a second and then put it back up. I do want to get to Jazz today because when I was watching Jazz, like the at-bats today, I actually loved the at-bats. I thought he stayed in the strike zone. He was a line drive hitter, and you saw the ball consistently on a line today. That mattered, right?
He should be leading off.
You can argue he should be leading off, but when he was ejected from this game, obviously we were watching the umpire essentially bait him into being ejected. But one thing I would say is that they gave him a while to get it out the system. They did. And you text me right away when he was ejected and said it seemed like he was trying to get ejected. And at the moment I was like, I don't know, if I was a player, I'd probably be pretty pissed off, obviously with that call. You can certainly say the reason I was out was because of that call. Like, you can justify that. But if you actually pay attention to how long that umpire was spending getting yelled at by Jazz Chisholm, yeah, you're going to be ejected. And the one thing I would say about Jazz, it almost seemed like he wanted to be ejected, but like wanted it to be the excuse for the day rather than flushing it, if that made sense. I thought the umpire gave him plenty of leash to get that out, scream at him, complain about the call. The call's done. He can't change it. And it's not his fault he sucks at his job. He was born that way. But
yeah, that was
now it was horrible, right? It was bad. It looked even worse on replay. But Jazz has to understand the way this ball club's playing, we can't afford to lose you in that moment of the game. We can't
put
happen.
them in a tough spot.
Yeah, there's just no reason to see JC out there at third base, and he looks, literally, he looked terrified on that pop-up that obviously Volpe came and took control. I thought Volpe did a good job there. You have to know who's over there, and he did, took the ball. But Jazz has to know better. The call was dismal. We'll own that. Atrocious. But Jazz has to find a way to stay in this game.
I completely agree. Now, I think both parties were wrong. I think the umpire sucks at his job and should be fined. That's how I feel. If you're that bad, I think you should be fined. That's always how I felt. But regardless of that, right? Also, your job as an umpire is to de-escalate the situation. He did let him yell at him all long time, but then I think when he starts like staring at him and Jazz is like, what are you looking at me for? And he tosses him then. That was the umpire like, I should have tossed him earlier, so now I'm going to bait him because I want to get him out of the game. It
was almost like Draymond Green. Like, if you watch basketball.
It was a makeup call, if you will.
Yeah, sure. There's a million reasons to eject this player. And sometimes, right, you're going to see a quick hook. Maybe he should have stayed in the game and the umpire went overboard, went across the line. But what about a player who's really instigating the situation and elevating? Because you mentioned that the umpire's job is to de-escalate. But what if the player is escalating, right? And you're sitting there staring at a person. Like, you ever thought, if you're at a restaurant, you're like, why is this guy staring at me? Did it ever cross your mind that you're also staring at this person? Right? You're also looking at the umpire. You can't figure out who's staring at you from across the field. He's literally across the entire baseball field. And you can tell me who's staring at you. Do you know why that is? Because you're looking at him. That's why. So Yes, Jazz, do we like when the umpires take control of a game? No, it's ridiculous. We don't buy the baseball package to see any umpires. We don't even want to know their names. But you have to understand the Yankees are playing terrible baseball right now. And the brand of baseball that you play, maybe we wouldn't call it situational baseball, but you've got the legs, right? You've got the contact that we need to potentially win a game in extra innings. And then now you're just gone. And we're looking at JC Escar at third base. It's detrimental to the team.
You could tell he wasn't thinking ahead either, because I think what's going through his mind is, I'm not hitting again the rest of the night. You know what I mean?
Perhaps. Maybe he was thinking that.
And I just feel like you have that mindset, and it's like, well, I mean, you could hit again. The game wasn't over. And it puts Boone in a bad spot, because now he's like, oh, awesome. Now I got to move everybody around, put LeMahieu at second, move Peraza to third. All of a sudden, Peraza, who's played second all day, now he's moving over to third. Do I believe he can do it? Yes. But now, if there's a crazy hit or something, you know, that's a lot of pressure, and he's been playing a different position for 8 innings. You know? So
it's not something. It's not a factor that should have been brought into the game.
Yeah,
at all.
No,
it's just not.
But yeah, I do feel like Jazz wanted to get tossed. I do. I think he just kind of there was a point where you could tell it had just consumed him, and he wasn't going to let it go. And I think that's why he was still like trying. He looked like he was like egging him on in the dugout. I just think he was trying to get tossed. But I think the umpire handled it poorly. Not as bad as the umpire in the College World Series. That dude should literally never umpire a game again.
Right. What should you expect, by the way? If you're in the dugout and you're yelling out to the field, a human being, by the way. Now, mind you, we want them to be objective. Like, let the guys blow out the lines, right? We saw DJ LeMahieu earlier this year. He gets to first base, and he says like 3 words, and he's gone. That's where we'll draw the line. That is where we'll say, no, the umpire's in the wrong. I don't care what he said to you. He spoke to you for half a second. But Jazz Chisholm spoke to him for a commercial break. He was talking to him the whole way out the batter's box. He was talking to him at third base. You deserve to be ejected. Relax with the 5 with the super chat. Welcome aboard.
Relax.
Haven't seen this name. Says, if Judge is a shell of himself this playoffs and Yankees lose early, at what point are we worried about playoff Judge? Well,
gotta get to the playoffs first.
Yeah, you have to get to the playoffs. Great point, Jake. And 2, I guess B, there's no reason for us to worry. All of our eggs are in that basket. So it is what it is. If a player just never elevates in October to the level that we know he should go to, well, then I guess we're not going anywhere, and there's no reason to worry about it. There's no way out of this. Like, if the Yankees don't have Aaron Judge's presence, like he's not 99 that you guys are used to seeing over the course of the regular season, the Yankees are never winning a World Series. They're just not. You can have a cold series. Like we saw Shohei Ohtani. Didn't have to be the Shohei Ohtani we're used to seeing. But you know what he did do well? He was electric in some of the series before that, helping them get to that point. Now, Judge had his moments. We mentioned what he did with Clase, in that Cleveland series. But overall, you would describe it as pretty much a nothing burger October. He was dropping fly balls in the World Series. It was not good. So when will we be worried? I would tell you never, but I'm more worried about what the Yankees as a unit do, because they're not showing nearly enough for me to have confidence going into October baseball. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I did not like his at-bat with the bases loaded. And I have to say, and I'm going to bring it up because I thought Ben Rice was excellent, working it to 3-2 and then working the walk. And knowing, like, having actual baseball knowledge and IQ. Because here's the deal, okay? When it comes down to the wire, you're the number 2 hitter. You have to know Judge is behind you, right? You have to know there's 2 outs. You have to know that there's 2 guys on, right? Ben Rice wants to be the hero. No doubt about it. In his mind, he would love to be able to be the hero here. Would absolutely love it. But he's also, he's we, not me. That's the way Ben Rice plays the game. And you could see it because, yes, he would have absolutely loved to launch one of those. And he could have turned on that one that was called ball 4. But you know what? He takes that pitch. Why? Because he knows there's a chance I'm going to miss this pitch. There's a chance I'm going to pop this pitch up. There is 2 outs. The best thing that I can do for the Yankees right now is to load the bases for the best hitter on the damn planet. Okay? And I did expect more out of Judge. I'm sorry. I thought, with the bases loaded, love the guy. Absolutely love him. He's my favorite player. But with the bases loaded, I expected more, Gary. I did. I felt like that was the moment. These guys got it done. They load up the bases. You set the table, okay? This is like, you have a defenseman in hockey, and he passes it to Draisaitl, and Draisaitl passes it to McDavid, and he's one-on-one with the goalie. You've set up your best player to succeed in the best way possible. No one can touch him. He is in the most dynamic situation. He is in the best possible situation for optimal results. Aaron Judge popped out in the infield with the bases loaded. That right there, I mean,
can I ask you who was
it
pitching?
Goes on for
can you think of it off the top of your head? Like, is it somebody who's like electric, greatness?
Was it Suter? I can't remember his name.
Right. So it's not like someone came out there and we saw Suarez out of San Diego, or it wasn't like a Josh Hader, right? Coming out the bullpen. It wasn't.
No.
No.
And I get
Diaz
it's baseball. I get that.
No, it is baseball, but they're both playing baseball. And you're Aaron Judge. You're paid generational money. And yes, to be electric the whole course of the regular season. And obviously Relax is sort of bringing up, are we worried essentially about Aaron Judge's inability to elevate in moments that we need him? That's really what it's about. Not to be carried. There's no such thing as a baseball player. There's never been a baseball player that's ever existed that just carries a club. It just doesn't happen. Just doesn't. We literally watched Shohei Ohtani play for the Los Angeles Angels, and none of what he was doing, none of the stats he piled up, none of the outings he had on the mound while hitting 2 homer games, none of it was amounting to anything. And that's because you need a full baseball team. But you know what? The Yankees are good enough to put Aaron Judge in enough situations where if he elevates, he can bring this team somewhere big. And they actually brought up the stat on Yes Network today. Aaron Judge has more at-bats in the clutch than any other player in baseball. In that situation, Aaron Judge has been in that moment more than any other team, any other player. That's saying a lot. It's telling you the Yankees, A, are in these style games a lot. That's one. And B, I guess their idea of hitting him 2 or further up the lineup, and a little odd of where they have him hitting, but they want him up there in the clutch. It seems like that's happening. But is that how we would describe him as a player who just always seems like he's up there and he's coming through? No, it's not. So am I concerned? No. Am I aware? Absolutely. So it's got to change at some point.
I like that. Am I concerned? No. Am I aware? Yes. I'm aware that now Judge, like, he comes up with the bases loaded, and obviously I know he's the best player in the league, but yeah, I maybe next time I won't be as confident as maybe I was this time.
Well, let me ask you this. Is Freddie Freeman a better hit? Let me ask you this. Is Freddie Freeman a better player than Aaron Judge?
No.
Now, if Freddie Freeman walked up in the championship series, in a championship series in the National League, and the other team watches Freddie come up there and he's digging in, you just know the game's over. You just know. We could have thrown Tim Hill out there.
Yeah.
We could have thrown Nestor Cortez. Checkmate. It's done, right? It's over with. And that's sometimes what players have. They can go, they can kick it into that extra gear. And I talked about that in our World Series broadcast about elevation. Some players have it, some players don't. But also, and this is what's very important here, Relax. So I really appreciate the super. There's some players that don't have it, and then they condition themselves and they practice and they get themselves acclimated to that situation. Alex Rodriguez. Rodriguez was useless in the clutch for the Yankees for a while. It was not a short period of time. He was really bad. Not good at all. But you know what? We don't win a World Series if he's not on this team in 2009. We just don't. We don't beat Minnesota. We don't beat any of those teams. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where we just need to be aware of it. We can address it. And if it doesn't change, like if it looks like this for the next 8 years, then we can describe it as a player who did shrink in big moments, but he hasn't finished out his career yet.
No, that's very true. And yeah, man, I miss watching A-Rod. Especially, I saw a thing come up on Twitter the other day and it was a play where he did like a Jeter jump throw, and it was from third, and it was like all the way, and he threw the guy out, but there was no bounce. It was just all on a line. I'm like, people forget how just incredible A-Rod was. It's
One
why
would say
you
he had
said,
a shortstop's arm.
It's why, yeah. It's why you said, I remember you tweeting it even, I think it was before we were even friends. I think you tweeted it out. It was, if A-Rod, oh no, it might have been after. I don't remember. But if A-Rod was 25 today, he would have gotten a
that was well after.
Contract.
Yeah, I said
that
yeah,
was
if
after?
A-Rod was,
Okay,
if he was a free agent. What's funny is when I posted that, he literally messaged me and he was like, "This is true."
It is. Because Juan Soto got paid, let's say 800, right? Like
Juan Soto can't even hold a candle to A-Rod. Not even close.
Juan Soto at no point in his life has played defense as well as A-Rod would do every night.
If Juan Soto is generational, and he's great, he's gonna be in the Hall of Fame. If he's generational, Alex Rodriguez is. There are a few players I can think of: Albert Pujols, right? Miguel Cabrera. Some of those players, those guys are like aliens. They're not even from this planet. They're not. Power. And
I
most
just think
importantly,
A-Rod's
also
glove is underrated somehow. Like
the other side of the
they
ball,
don't talk
defense.
about it.
Right.
They don't talk about it. They talk about his power. They don't talk about his contact. They don't talk about his ability to hit for average. And they don't talk about the fact that he was actually the best shortstop in the league and made the most unselfish thing because he easily could have forced himself into shortstop. He could have, right? He absolutely could have forced his way.
I guess he asked to be traded if he ever did ask for that. Like that was part of the deal, the handshake.
But he could have done that because trust me, he already made his presence known. And then you don't just be like, all right, I want to be shortstop. And they're like, oh, well, we had a deal. So even though you're the best player in the league, we're going to trade you like that. No.
It would have been an uncomfortable situation because we agreed to just never talk about whether you're better than Jeter, so don't ask us. And so he didn't. So he was a much better teammate than people gave him credit for. He very easily could show up. How many times do you go to your workplace and look to your right or left and go, yeah, this person gets more accolades and more praise than I do, and I'm just going to say nothing about it? It gets frustrating. You know what I mean? So that's just been a part of it. And Jordan Richard with the super, thank you for the 2, says another Boone mistake was going to Devin Williams too early. Honestly, sure. Like, you can make that argument, but I understand the urgency. I think that's probably what Boone was thinking. This is urgency. And I don't really feel like the Yankees lost this game over their arms. I feel like the Yankees lost this game, and even with what happened with Rodon, that was an objectively stupid decision. It was really bad. I'm not going to say it nicely. It was dumb. But all things considered, in all those situations that we went through, for the Yankees not to find a way to scratch runs across, multiple runs across there, given what was happening with Cincinnati on the mound, they did nothing to lose. Like, they essentially did nothing to win that game offensively. So they just gave it away. And Blake, I'm actually interested to see, Jake, what you think about this, because this is very interesting. And Blake, this is a new name. Haven't seen this with the 5. Welcome in, Blake. And by the way, guys, before we get to this, make sure you guys subscribe. I know we have 360 people in here who said you can't run a Yankees podcast in June. But I will tell you guys, we are very close to 7,000 subscribers. We are giving away a Yankees jersey of your choice. Any player, take your pick, home or road. As long as we get to 10,000, which we should very soon, we'll be giving away that jersey live here on the podcast. So make sure you guys subscribe. Love the graphic. Yeah, Jake made that.
We won't give it to you with a question mark.
Yeah, unless you guys really like the question mark. Or, what's his name again?
I kind of want the question mark.
If you want Wally Pip.
He doesn't have a number, but
we'll give you you shouldn't have numbers on the back of your Yankees jersey. Well, no, numbers. Names. You cannot have names on the back of your Yankees jersey unless there's some customization. But Blake with a 5 says Yankees are the only team with an expected win total of 50. Bullpen mismanagement, obviously we've discussed some of that today, and lacking the ability to adjust late in games are killing us. So this is interesting because it goes to show you, it almost feels like if these games were played over again, these numbers of expected win total, they're almost saying like, oh, this is what they should have, but they don't for some inexplicable reason. But I feel like This is exactly where the Yankees would always end up because they always play this way in June or July. They just do. So you can say these are expected wins, but are these unexpected losses, Jake, do you think?
I mean, the thing that makes this season so frustrating is that they're in every game just about. So I think that's really what expected win total kind of gives you, is that a lot of these other teams are losing games where it's like, oh yeah, we just didn't have it tonight. Even when the Yankees don't have it, they're in every game. And that to me is, the frustrating part, because it makes for a painful watch. I would have much rather turned this thing on and it was 10-0 and I'm like, okay, it's going to be a funeral on Yankees Unloaded, but at least now I know that, yeah, this game just sucks and I don't have to sit here with heartstrings pulling and all of that. No, and the whole 5-4 and 11 innings, I mean, couldn't have drawn it up any better and perfectly encapsulate what is a Yankees extra inning loss. I mean, they even scored when they didn't even deserve it on a
They didn't even know
pitch.
that. They didn't even know the score. Ellie had no idea what the score of the game was.
They had no idea. He thought the game was over. And to be honest with you, I knew the game was over in that moment, so can't say I blame Ellie.
Do you know how reckless you have to be to play professional baseball and you don't know the score of a
what's
baseball
funny?
game?
You know how
insane.
Judge gets intentionally walked because he's such a feared hitter?
Mm-hmm.
Can we have like an intentional, like, Ellie, you're too scary on the base paths and I'm forcing you to be replaced?
That's the beauty, by the way, of being good at something other than just hitting home runs. It's the beauty of it. So, yeah, would you rather have Ellie or Aaron Judge? No, obviously you'd rather have Judge because the harder thing to do is to hit for power and average. But speed also can play too. It's not just who's got the 780 ops, who can calculate their ops, right? Show us the power numbers, the slugging, all that, draw a walk. No, sometimes there's players that just go out there and they're like, oh, if we let him get to first base, it's a problem. Provided he knows the outs or the score of the game, he's going to find a way to touch home plate, and that's the whole point of this game. So
he's a video game, man. You just crank
I don't
the
think,
dial
by
all
the way,
up for the speed.
Yeah, I don't believe that we have any. You should have no expectations that the Yankees should have expected to win 50 games. I don't believe. I think no matter what we did, we were going to find a way. You get off
That's
to a hot
5
start.
games. I expected them to win 5 more than what they have right now.
You did? Okay, so
They're
given
11
what our
over
record
500. They were
what's our
17
record?
over 500. They're 45 and 34.
This is if we were here, like you told me our record was 45 and 34, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. But 50 and 29, that would surprise me personally.
I mean, I told you, I liked what this team looked like. I did. And I mean, the way they've been pitching, I don't think it's crazy to even suggest that, And I think today the bullpen got overused, but I also think that that's going to happen. You're going to give up runs. That is what it is. But this offense just continues to shoot itself in the foot. And, I love that Michael K brought up, Austin Wells and brought up Grisham's at bat, because Grisham's at bat made me pissed. I was genuinely pissed when I watched him swing and miss. I'm like, you have a runner on. Peraza's on second. He just stole a bag. Great stuff, right? Small baseball. He steals a bag late in the game. Grisham strikes out. He couldn't even get the bat on the ball to move Peraza over to third. Peraza's like in the 88th percentile for sprint speed. He's going to third if you even hit a soft liner, right? Doesn't have to be just a straight up pop fly. So, or a deep pop fly for that matter. So he finally gets over to third, but by the time he gets over to third, thanks, Gary, now you have 2 outs. It's like, how does he not score? How on earth does he not score? And really, now I'm going to say it. The Yankees don't have a leadoff hitter. Should probably be Jazz at this point, because it would force Jazz to have to be the 70% hitter instead of doing the 100% swing to try to hit a home run, because Jazz isn't going up to the plate as a leadoff hitter trying to hit a home run every time. He would know better. Although, to be fair, I liked his at-bats. I didn't feel like he was doing that. But Jazz...
I just thought about something.
Jazz has a 342 on base percentage. He should be leading off. Goldschmidt's falling off a damn cliff. He's now hitting 288, Gary. He's hitting 288. Mm-hmm. And then Trent Grisham has been horrendous in the month of June. He's falling off a cliff. I got to be honest with you. Yesterday, Ben Rice did not play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was pissed by that. I was not happy. If this is the bar, who cares about, all of these splits and, these platoon jobs? Because I just want the best damn hitters, in the batter's box. I don't care. I'm over this whole, Ben Rice doesn't hit lefties. I don't give a rip. I want Ben Rice hitting every single day. They're telling on themselves. I said this yesterday. They're telling on themselves. Ben Rice, as soon as he came back into the lineup, sure enough, he's batting second. When does this guy not bat in the top 4, top 5, right? Doesn't happen.
Yeah, technically. Yeah, if he comes out of the lineup, and because you tell me, well, they're facing a lefty, so the matchup is that Paul Goldschmidt's going to play. Now, mind you, we knew what they were going to do. But if that's what you're going to do, why would you show up into 2026 and be like, hey, Ben, you're starting today? Oh, I thought Chris Sale's on the mound. Yeah, but you're just starting. You're good enough to do it. Well, why wasn't I good enough in 2025? And then they tell us, well, because we have good problems to have. We had Paul Goldschmidt on that roster. So that's what ends up happening.
And now he has experience against lefties.
Right. So essentially all you're doing is delaying people's development. You're delaying it. That's all you're doing.
Self-sabotage.
We have that same exact situation going on with Grisham. Technically, as an overall number, Trent Grisham's giving more production than Jason Dominguez. Now, everybody else looks at Jason Dominguez and says, well, he has way more talent than Trent Grisham, right? He just does. He can run. He's got pop. I guess that's what his scouting report says, right? He can do all that stuff offensively. But then you run into the issue of, do we develop Dominguez or do we just platoon him? And right now, the Yankees are choosing to platoon not just them two, everybody. Everyone's in a platoon situation.
I hate it.
And they have no idea where they're hitting in the lineup. So, yeah, it's disappointing. It's not going to change. And I love this super because it asks a question that I promise you guys there's a clear answer. So Colin Creed with the 5, thank you for the super, says no accountability, awful extra inning decision-making, pulling pitchers early. Wake-up call? This is the interesting question. Wake-up call. Fire Boone. Not playing baseball equals losing. Embarrassing. So is this a wake-up call? No. And you have to ask yourself, is this the first time this has ever happened to the Yankees where they showed up in mid to late June and you said, why aren't they thinking the game?
The
Why is
wake-up
our
call
home
was
broadcast?
games ago.
They've
lost 9 of their last 12.
At what point did our audience, at what point were you able to locate that Aaron Boone is not demanding players to play situational baseball in order to be on the field? At what point did you guys find that out? Now, mind you, I just figured something out while you were talking, because you were talking about, before we went live, you were talking about Gleyber Torres, right? You were talking about Jason Dominguez and why he doesn't play a little bit more. And it really dawned on me that Gleyber Torres, obviously he was on last year's roster. He was atrocious in the first half. Then he was benched. And then his on-base was over 400 after that. He hit, right? He hit decent October, all that stuff. But it actually dawned on me that when people say, oh, the players need to get better, that's why we're not situational, right? It's the players. They're the ones who don't understand how to make these adjustments and do what needs to be done, right? Then you jump into 2025. The Yankees made the funny decision. They decided that Gleyber Torres has no role on this team. And I said, okay, well, situationally and fundamentally, they have to get a lot better. He wasn't you wouldn't describe him as a high IQ player. That was the assessment of Gleyber. But here's the interesting part. I feel like them making that decision was their way of saying it's him, it's not us. It's not our leadership, it's his talent and him straying from the pack. And what's interesting about that is they replaced Gleyber Torres.
What I was saying, by the way.
Right, with whoever else. And all you see is that it's really the steer of the ship. That's all it was. It was just leadership. That's all this is. It's not talent. People tell me, oh, it's because Austin Wells sucks. It's not. That's not why it's happening. Like, you can make the argument that other players should play, but for certain guys on our roster, now you can look at these numbers from Baseball Savant and be like, wow, we could really use this, right? Very typical stuff. His base running is atrocious. His fielding is wildly mediocre, probably a little bit better than what you guys were anticipating, probably better than what I was anticipating. But you look at the other numbers, it tells you the story of what is best case scenario with this player. He's going to hit. That's what he's paid to do. He's paid millions of dollars to put the barrel of the bat on the baseball. That's it, guys. Now, if you're a team as a unit, regardless of who's on your team, you don't play fundamental baseball, you're going to make this player look really bad. He's not going to be able to run the bases well, right? These numbers suggest that. He's not going to field incredibly well. He's going to make some errors that can bite you from time to time. But then also, he's going to make bad outs. Man on second base, less than 2 outs. He's on your team. So he's going to find a way to try to be the hero, and he may fail, right? More times than not, when you try to be the hero late in games, you're facing some of the team's best arms. You usually fail. So, yeah, I genuinely believe, God, I wish you didn't put that on the screen. I believe the Yankees, no matter who they're utilizing, they're not getting the most out of their talent. And that includes Volpe, that includes Wells. They're not getting the most out of these guys because they don't demand them to play a high brand of baseball at the end of games.
No, I think that's definitely fair. We kind of spent all year trying to figure out what's wrong with the Yankees, and when we came to the conclusion of after a full year of covering the team, is that by the end of the year they were missing a leadoff hitter, and Glaber fit right in there, right?
Are you seeing? I'm sorry, I just lost all train of thought. This is just incredible.
What is
Welkin
it?
says that Boone has 0 rings. He's running a summer camp for kids.
Oh my!
Baseball is the only thing on right now. Hey, Welkin, that's brilliant.
Oh
well
man,
done. Awesome.
But yeah, what I'm saying here is that Glaber was their leadoff hitter. They finally found their leadoff hitter. I actually said I have a feeling that there was a fix. Remember? I said that. I thought that this is somebody that actually fixed the issues that he had, whatever they were, right?
Right.
And sure enough, it looks that way. Glaber has been consistent to start the year. The last year, the biggest issue was the first half of the season. He was atrocious. But this year's first half of the season, this is what you're looking at. You're looking at a player who's hitting 281. You're looking at a player.
Cover that bottom. I really thought so. Jonathan Alvarez just became a new member. Welcome in, Jonathan. Thank you for supporting the channel. I was hoping that his graphic and all of his page and picture were going to cover the bottom there of Glaber Torres' fielding, but it didn't. It was too off to the left.
Yeah, I mean his fielding isn't great, but at the same time, it's basically like IKFs, and we're talking about wanting to get IKF because he can hit. But Glaber has an 803 OPS. He has a 386 on base percentage. He could be your leadoff hitter right now. Now, again, I already made peace with it. He's not on the team. I get that. But when you want to know what's going on with the Yankees, the fact is they don't have a leadoff hitter. Their leadoff hitters consisted of 2 guys who got really, really hot in Trent Grisham and Paul Goldschmidt, who have since fallen off a damn cliff. They just have. I'm just being honest. Goldschmidt was hitting in the 350, 360 range. He is now hitting 288. That's a great average. But when you think about how far he's fallen, that's not good. And Trent Grisham, he's hitting a home run every day. We're calling him Trent Bonds. And now he strikes out 3 times a day. And he's not getting on base. His on base percentage was great. And now Jazz Chisholm almost has the same on base percentage as him. Somebody who was hitting 170 at one point. Okay. So again, right now, leadoff hitter is a real concern for the Yankees once again, like we talked about last year. And that's the frustrating thing for me, is that I understand Glaber's gone and he's not going to be on the team, right? He's on the best team in the league. But yes, the thing that bothers me is it seems like the Yankees kind of continue to cause their own problems. Think about this. The Glaber Torres thing. Oh, you finally found the best leadoff hitter you've had based on what he was doing. He's the best leadoff hitter they had since what? Damon, Jeter, whatever, right? What he was doing
was
last
up there.
year.
And people looked at the overall numbers, and he had a bad first half. But you look at Paul Goldschmidt's on our team right now, not because of what he did in his overall numbers last year, but strictly because of what he did in the second half. That's the whole reason we signed him. It's the only reason, actually. that we signed him. And then all of a sudden, Gleyber Torres, where's the logic there? Is that a player has a strong second half, and you're like, well, hold on a second. We think that's the player he really is. He's not that first half guy. Okay, then you didn't do that with Gleyber. Oh, no, it's because we want to be a better fundamental team. Okay, well, that makes sense. That tracks. So you're saying that Gleyber can't fit your brand of baseball that you want to play. You bring in, right, Bellinger. You bring in Goldschmidt. Okay. Well,
what about
how is it possible? Right, and then how's it possible that all these guys that you handpicked, right? You told me we're going to prioritize defense. The defense has been better, but the situational hitting that you told me was going to be better, it hasn't been. So, yeah, maybe you guys are the problem. Maybe. Maybe. And that's part of the reason why, right? And Clint Frazier comes out and he's talking about maybe the players are taking the blame, right? And they're just kind of thrown out there on the field. And if it doesn't work out, they musical chair you. Well, I feel like you're also kind of bringing up this Grisham thing. My mom texts me every day. She's like,
she does not like Grisham.
She does not like Trent Grisham. She didn't like him back in the San Diego days. Now, I think he's not terrible, but you're also running a risk here. I'm going to say that. Trent Grisham is a good defender. He is, right? Mm-hmm. He plays smart baseball. He has good jumps, good reads, all those things, right? He's going to field his position, and he's in center field. That's very important. And the guy he's really replacing and getting out the way is a player we're trying to develop in Jason Dominguez. Well, here's the risk you're running. If Trent Grisham is hitting 240 right now, he's still slugging, his ops is 810. But if all of a sudden you start looking up and that batting average is 220, it's 214, and that op starts to plummet into the mid 700s, maybe into the lower 700s, still early. All of a sudden the Yankees might have to make a decision, maybe this isn't the best option for us in the short term, and they're just going to have to jump to a young player. I think you just hopped me right out of the screen.
I don't even know how that happened. I'm not even on the... What is happening right now? That was wild.
Could you even hear me?
Yeah, no, we could hear you, but it's just like, I don't know what StreamYard just did.
StreamYard stinks. Anyway,
that was
if you have Trent Grisham playing, you're going to have to turn around. If you pull the plug, you have this young kid who's 22 years old, and I'm not saying you should treat him like this isn't the YMCA. This isn't charity. It's professional baseball. But you can't look at him and be like, hey, now go produce for us and save the season. You didn't play him. You didn't trust him to play over this, right, 28-year-old guy. You didn't trust him to do that. So now all of a sudden you need him to save this? No, if Trent Grisham's playing right now and he's playing this much, he has to finish the season on a strong note. If he doesn't, you're just asking a 22-year-old to just play every 3 days and just turn it on. I promise you guys, you're going to be disappointed. It won't happen.
No, I totally get what you're saying. I really need people to understand. I am not trying to have a witch hunt about Goldschmidt. It's just I've been consistent in that it's what have you done for me lately? And I believe that if you are going to mix up the lineup, stop focusing on the lefty righty thing. That's a bunch of bullshit right now. It just is. I'm just going to say the hard facts, okay? They keep talking about how Goldschmidt is the best hitter against lefties in the league. That hasn't been the case. Not for a while. He's hitting 495 OPS. He has a 157 batting average, a 224 on base, 271 slugging in the month of June.
Wait, why did he play today then if this is the logic that he's dominant against lefties?
This is what I mean.
And
there's no rhyme or reason.
Where's the reasoning? He played first base today. You saw the defense. He saved a run. Like, all that stuff is good. But I guess the gist of it is if you're doing this like lefty-righty thing and platoon job thing, right? Oh, Ben Rice, he sits one day because a lefty's starting. Well, then why is Goldschmidt playing?
I think platooning,
I don't get it.
There's logic to it. I'm not going to sit here and act like, one of those, random tinfoil hatters that's like, no. There's no logic to it whatsoever. It's not real. It's all in your head. It's a conspiracy. No. There's logic to it. But like analytics, how Gary and I, if you guys watched us at the beginning, we were not a big fan of using like all sorts of different things. We've opened up to using more Savant and stuff like that.
Baseball Savant is as far as I'll go. I won't go any further.
We were not into exit velo or anything like that early on in our show. People that were with us at the beginning know this, right? So we've adapted, but we're not going to go all the way. We're not going to start painting a distorted image of what's actually happening with winning, weighted runs created, where now all of a sudden we're saying, well, that hit would have been better if it was in a different location. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But what we will do is we will use analytics, but we'll use them in a way that makes them a tool, a way that makes them the sauce to the sandwich. It's not the sandwich. It's not. Gary, I saw your Five Guys post today, okay? It is not
what did I say again? I forgot.
I don't remember, nor do I care. The point being, it was about Klarna.
Oh yeah, someone said it was too expensive to go to Five Guys. I was like, wow, what are you gonna do with the $4 you saved? Congratulations.
You're like, yeah, I literally don't care.
Everything's expensive except for In-N-Out.
So the two patties, right? Analytics are if you get like any of the oil or whatever, you get any of the side stuff like ketchup or mustard or whatever for like the fries.
Yeah.
That's what analytics is. The two patties is the actual game. It's the feel of the game. It's the actual human element of the sport. To me, that comes first. You Salt Bay the analytics in there, right? But at the end of the day, if you're only focusing on analytics, you're distorting the image. And the reality is, while that's a good tool to have, essentially those platoon stats and basing it on that here and there, I get that. But Boone only manages based on platoon. That's what bothers me. I don't like a formulaic manager. I don't. Joe Torre he knew what his lineup was going to be, but he wasn't necessarily formulaic about it, okay? He knew these guys were in this order because they just fit well because he used his eyes, okay? He didn't have analytics. Anyone, the way they are, it's because of the way they want to do the lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty. No, I think you are openly handicapping your lineup and putting guys in bad situations because you want to have this little pretty pattern. So basically a reliever in the middle of the game can't come in and just go up against two lefties. So you're making it harder for them. I understand the rationale. I get it. But to only do that screws you in the end. And that to me is what's happening. I think it's screwing them. And I think Michael Kay was the first one on this. We had talked about it as potentially being an issue down the road, but Michael Kay was the first one to really bring it to everyone's attention on a broad scale, where he came out and said, this is still a problem. And now all of a sudden we have Ben Rice, who's not playing every day because, he can't hit lefties. So he's not getting any better against lefties, because I hate to break it to you, if he's going to be your first baseman in the future, the worst thing you could possibly do for him is turn him into a platoon-only guy, okay?
He's literally
that's
a platoon
horrific.
Player.
That's
and you have to ask yourself,
and that's a
why
failure
would it get better?
On their part. Failure.
It is a failure, but why would he get better at it? Now, mind you, do I think it's going to get better for Jason Dominguez? Like, do I think he's going to rake right-handed at any point in his career? No, I don't. I think eventually he's just going to give up, or he'll just be bad over there. He just will. And more times than not, you look at Ellie, majority of his damage is done left-handed. It just is. Now, will he pull the plug on it? No, they're probably going to give him time to figure that out. And eventually, once you see enough of it, you just say enough's enough. I'm not a switch hitter. I'm going to be left-handed. But you have to ask, why is somebody your top prospect? I know this super's awesome. I just left it on the screen.
Oh, man.
Why would you expect someone to get better at something that doesn't even work on it? Like, if you suck at math, more times than not, when someone tells you they suck at math, they also don't work at it. Like, they're not going to study the equations. They also don't like math. So
could you imagine hiring people for like a call center and be like, yeah, that call wasn't very good, so you're not going to be doing phones anymore, but you'll be doing something else. Well,
and then all of a sudden you're doing phones at the end of the year. Like, hey, Chris Sale's on the mound.
Yeah.
You're good luck. It's not going to work. So you put people in position to succeed, and then you watch them and then say, all right, let's see if this works out. Should work out. And that's talent.
And
I don't get it.
Could I make the argument? And again, I'm not really I really am not trying to say Boone is bad, because I've already made it clear. I think he's the top 10 manager in the sport. I also made it clear I don't think there are many good managers in this league.
I think there's probably 7 good managers. I would say Boone, I would not call him a good manager. I'm not going to call him bad. I just wouldn't call him good. Mediocre. He's really good at certain things. Solid. He's really bad at others.
I think he's solid. But what I would say is this. We give too much credit to managers using analytics. We do. I see it all the time. Oh, yeah, I like Boone's lineup today. He's using the lefty-righty approach. So he looked at a piece of paper and was like, yeah, okay, he's better. Why am I giving him credit for that? See, I give Boone credit when he does stuff like he keeps Rodon in, because he has done this in the past. He didn't do it today. But he's kept like Rodon in. And remember, he went like 108 pitches. Like he tested it one night. That's a good move. Keeping in Luke Weaver an extra inning, right? Oh, he pitched really well in the first inning, was untouchable. Funny, he didn't do that today, but pitched really well in the first inning, untouchable, keeps him in the second inning. There you go. The pinch hitting, right? Decides, he's not the best pinch hitter, but I just really don't trust Pablo Reyes at the plate. So I'm going to put in Giancarlo Stanton. Right?
The fact that you just brought this up, I'm actually going to set it in stone. I think Aaron Boone's probably a top 21 manager. I think there's probably like 9 in the league. I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm not joking you. I don't think this is good. I really don't. I think there's so many ways that he utilizes these players and he just demands less. In key situations, you'll have a player come up, young player, and 0 outs, man on second base, just basics of what the goal is. And they can do whatever they want. They can hit a home run. They can it doesn't matter what happens. He doesn't use anything that happens on the field to make a future decision. He doesn't learn from any of his mistakes. He just continues to do them. And I continue to tell you as well, Jake, we don't even know what Paul Goldschmidt's doing tomorrow. Paul Goldschmidt was 0 for today, right? Weak contact all day, poor at bats.
Well, he'll be in the lineup because Jazz had 2 hits, so he'll probably be out of the lineup. You just go where the guys have 3 hits and 2 hits, and so it's those are the guys that don't play.
Right, so we have to cope with it with humor. But in actuality,
no, I know what
at
you
the
mean,
end of the year, we're not going to go anywhere. And then people are going to say, well, why did this guy fall off a cliff? It's like, well, why would you think this would work out? You have a player who can play well, right? And we saw this 3 days ago. Cody Bellinger has a 3-hit day. He had a day off 4 days prior, and they sat him. Was it because he was facing someone he was really bad against? That would make a lot of sense. The numbers? No, actually, he had good numbers. We actually picked him to have over 1.5 total bases because of those numbers. Didn't play, right? So there's no rhyme or reason why Boone makes these decisions. He's just I think it just feels like a timeshare. This is just poor management. It is. And again, I'm not afraid to talk about in a room full of people who really can't stand Aaron Boone. I'm here to tell you right now, Aaron Boone's not liked. It's very easy to only talk negative about Aaron Boone. I will tell you, I don't think he's a good manager at all. But on this podcast, and Jake, you'll vouch for this, I've spent hours mentioning what Aaron Boone has done correctly as a standalone event. If he does something correct, if he stretches a Carlos Rodon an extra inning and it works out, right, puts confidence into him. Will Warren, if he pulls an extra inning out of him, right, and doesn't just yank him off the field trying to build confidence, I clap. But when I look at the totality of what he does, do I love what he's doing in the bullpen? No, I don't. Is there any rhyme or reason why he builds the lineups the way he does? No. He couldn't even tell you why he does what he does because it's just random. I haven't found a trend, and we podcast every single day. Guys are just hitting wherever. Ben Rice hits 2. The next day he's benched. The next day he's your leadoff. The next day it's like Austin Wells is out for no reason. They're like, well, he's not hitting. I'm like, he hasn't been hitting. There's no real reason. So I want to get to this super. I don't think Boone is really that good. I don't. I just think he knows baseball. Obviously, he played baseball, so he knows the gist of it. But some of these moves are just, you can't explain them. If he goes and manages Cincinnati, where does this team go? Do I think they're better than they are with Francona? I don't. I genuinely don't think that. Jimbo Slice, awesome super chat with the 5. Thank you for supporting the channel in all seriousness, even though this is very, very
That's
funny.
John Cena, right?
Yes. Love the picture. Says Aaron Boone hit 1 home run when I was in grade school, and because of that is currently rooting my life. It is
That's
interesting how there's almost like a domino effect, right? A butterfly effect of how things work out. You become a hero with that franchise, and then now you're sort of intertwined with that group. It is interesting because without that home run, do you think Boone's the manager?
Hard to say.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Hard to say.
And I don't mean to say like was he?
Do you remember the greatest thing since sliced bread coming from the Mets? Or no, I think he became the coach of the Mets. I think he was Twins, Guardians, Mickey Callaway. He was supposed to be like he was the Sean McVay of managers, the way they talked about him. I don't know what the hell he's doing right now. I just know he's not managing. So it is kind of funny how it works out. But I want to ask you this honestly, because people bring him up all the time. And honestly, I think he got the absolute most raw end of the deal ever. Buck Showalter. Would he have more wins on this Yankee team than Boone right now?
So I'm going to say this. The easy answer is for me to tell you yes, because he's an old school guy. He's probably going to make the common sense decisions. Like he probably plays Jason Dominguez every day. Grisham probably doesn't find his way on the field. And maybe that hurts the team in the short term, right? You don't get Trent Grisham's output at the beginning. It could potentially hurt you then. But I think the ceiling of where the Yankees can go would be higher. I think the baseline season of the way Aaron Boone manages baseball teams is higher. The baseline season. He's going to keep you at a certain amount of wins, and that is objectively a good thing, right? He's going to rotate players around. You can stay healthy more easily with this manager. You're going to sit. You're going to get your days. He's going to make sure he does that. Outside of Anthony Volpe, everyone pretty much sits all the time. They just do, right? Aaron Judge gets his DH days. So I think the way that Boone does it, where it's more of a we're going to win by committee, even if we get punched in the mouth for 2 weeks, we're not going to stray. We're not going to vary how we do things. We're not going to go to my gut. We're going to do things the way that these analytics suggest that we should go to them. So to answer the question, I think the Yankees probably in the last, if Showalter was our manager the last 8 years, I think the Yankees have one. I do. I think we would have won a championship. I think he's a really good manager, of course. But I also think there's a few other names. I'd probably say 5 or 6.
Mattingly?
Perhaps. Yeah, I don't want to put too much stock and give them too much credit because they haven't managed, right? They haven't managed with this team. But I would say some of the old school names that I can think about, they probably just make more sound decisions, not just necessarily with the rotation, but most importantly, who plays every day and in what order. I think that's why you look up and you say, this team sucks in June. They suck in July. Why do they suck so bad? Well, I think a lot of it is people are talking about who's getting traded, right? How the team can get better. And then guys hear their names in the trade market, and then they're also not playing 2 days in a row. Now they're on the field. There's a lot at work playing for the Yankees at this time of the year. So we can't ignore all these factors. We can't.
And then all the buzz about the minor leaguers. You see what's his face playing shortstop every day now, Lombard Jr.
I could deal with pressure behind me. If I'm an employee at a place and I look behind me and they say, this guy can take your job.
Maybe some people can't.
Maybe not, but I think that's healthy, that someone pushes you, right, from behind. Yeah. That's natural. But what if someone says, hey, Tim over here might take your job. Hey, why don't you take Monday and Tuesday off?
By the way,
how can I earn that job?
I have an answer to your question.
What was my question?
About Aaron Boone, if he didn't hit the home run, is he the manager?
Okay.
Yes. It has no difference because think about this. Don Mattingly never got a chance to be the manager of the Yankees.
This is true. This is absolutely true. So, and Aaron Boone's a great guy. Like, he knows baseball, guys. He just
I like Aaron Boone.
He just doesn't implement.
He's frustrating.
Well, I guess it doesn't really matter if we like him. But how he implements his mentality into the game, like the influence that he has, it's just not working to the degree that we need it to work. That's all we're saying. This isn't personal. Like, I'm not going to go to Yankee Stadium and make a damn sign. I'm not that pissed off about it, but we cover this team. And when you look up and you say, well, who hits leadoff for the Yankees? Who hits second? Who hits third? Who hits fourth? No one could give me an answer because there is no answer. No one knows what they're doing on this baseball team. And that is why you're not consistent. I'm telling you guys, if things change around, it's like working at a place and I mean, you look at our office, Jake. Isn't it nice? We show up for this podcast, and our computers are all set up. All the cords are all where they need to be. But let yourself move. Let yourself move, right, to a new apartment, a new house, and all the cords are in different spots. The podcast is a train wreck for 2 weeks because you can't figure out where a cord is, why won't this cord work anymore. Things just stop working. All of a sudden, a screen won't turn on. I promise you guys, this is just the way life works.
This is horror.
You need to have something familiar. And when things change, and look at this Yankees team, things change every day. There's a new guy hitting second. They'll tell us, well, we want to give Judge an extra at bat. Then he's hitting third, and then Rice is hitting two. Then Goldschmidt's leading off. Then all of a sudden, Rice is leading off because there's a righty out there. It's changing all the time, and it's unexpected. So you may be right. Paul Goldschmidt may play tomorrow, but you know what? He may not. He may just sit inexplicably because he went 0 for today. He may.
Who knows? We have no idea. Let's get to the picks, but real quick, I guess I'll throw this out to you because I think people want to know. Is there any chance this year, and I'm not calling for this, but is this year?
Did everyone else just get that whole freeze job?
What?
You were like, is there any chance? Gone. I lost a cord unplugged.
Okay.
Yeah, you totally froze.
You clearly didn't hear it, but they did hear it.
So are you asking me, is there a chance that Aaron Boone could be fired?
Yes.
0 chance. And mind you, I'm almost afraid to tell our audience, and there's over 300 people in here. I'm almost afraid to tell them that answer because they probably are going to be like, well, you don't think he should be fired? No. I promise you guys, I'm just reading the room as to how things go. People are going to look up at this and say, it's not even that bad, right? Some of these guys are ice cold. Goldschmidt's been cold. Judge has been cold. They can convince you guys, we're in first place. We're still a game up over Tampa. Now, is that where we should be? Hell no. But they can always see the glass half full. They can. And that's sort of what's happened. And you saw this happen, and Michael Kay gave you this answer when people were calling for Aaron Boone's job in the offseason. This is obviously several years ago now. But when people were mentioning this guy should be dismissed, he's horrible, he's this, he's that. Okay. Well, they mentioned the wins. How many wins did the Yankees have on the average of a season? They lose Aaron Judge to injury. That season they win 82, 83 games. But look every other year. They find ways they're just a shoe into the postseason. They always get there. And that's seen as an accomplishment. So am I telling you guys that it's easy to make October baseball? No. But do I think the Yankees would ever think that it's okay? Like, is it not okay to just be good, but you can't go to the next level? No, I think the Yankees will always tell us this is good enough. I don't think Boone is in jeopardy at all. I don't.
I don't, for the simple reason that I absolutely think he could be fired next year. I do. But who would you replace him with right now? Brad Ausmus doesn't have me jumping for joy. He's pretty much going to be the same. To me, you fire Boone if they don't make it to the World Series this year, and you get an authoritative figure. You get somebody that really is just kind of like disciplinary. And I do think if that was the case, I would hire Buck Showalter. I'd do it.
Yeah, because you do have to think about who's available. The manager I actually like, who's in the league, and he's not going anywhere.
I like Pruszinski a little bit, but
I really like Craig Counsell and what he does. I just love what he does. He
wouldn't leave Chicago, but
he would never leave Chicago, but that's just the name that I think about. So you have to remember, the manager that you're going to get either A, doesn't have a job, or he's ready to leave his job.
How about Thibodeau? So, I know he's looking for a job.
Aaron Judge plays 162 games.
Hey,
he'll also pitch.
At least we wouldn't have to worry about, give him a day.
You also don't have to worry about pitch counts.
Yeah, oh my God.
Tom Thibodeau would pitch Garrett Cole coming back from Tommy John. He'd throw 150 pitches opening day.
My the accuracy on this is hilarious.
They're like, what are you talking about? You just want to Cy Young. He can go the whole game.
Yeah.
He's like, Nolan Ryan did it. He can do it. I promise you, Thibodeau would do that.
He would have the same lineup. He'd have the same rotation. He'd have the same rotation in the bullpen. He'd like create his own rotation, but for the bullpen.
Yeah. James Evans says Bruce Bochy. Bruce Bochy is going to be in Arizona at steakhouses for the rest of his life. He's not managing. He's
done after this year.
He's chilling. He's not managing the Yankees. You think he wants to deal with that? He's already a Hall of Famer, by the way. Yeah, a lot of these guys that we would name, some of them.
I don't know if they could make it work because I don't know, what his contract looks like. But I saw Kevin Cash, and I think he'd probably be the best like option right now. That's like
I don't hate that either. I don't hate it.
Potentially available.
Okay, I don't hate
it. It is the Rays, so like. I mean, he could leave.
We should do this. This is awesome. This is not a super chat, but I love this. Sean says, "Can we crowdsource manage this team? We should be able to run it like the Packers. Like we're just all owners. And we do polls. If we run a poll and it's like, should we poll this pitcher? And they just buzz him and he just gets off the mound. That'd be awesome.
Do you remember fan controlled football?
No, I don't remember that.
The league Johnny Manziel was in, it was like the fans voted on the plays.
No, I would never watch Johnny Manziel football. I'd watch it in college, but
I don't blame you, but I didn't watch it. It was more so fan-controlled football was like that. They voted on the plays. They decide who got cut.
Are you
who they
joking?
signed. I'm dead serious.
You are kidding me.
I am not kidding you.
By the way, when we mentioned that Aaron Boone, this is the last thing I'll say, and then we can obviously do our picks. When we mentioned that Aaron Boone, this is crazy. We are one game up of the Tampa Bay Rays. They've got some talent, okay? The Tampa Bay Rays are one game back.
There you go.
$300 million team, which, by the way, when you look up, we don't look like a $300 million team. We just don't.
Is that not like a good example of why Kevin Cash would be a great fit? If you can get that out of that?
Yes. It'll help, certainly, but I will say, the Yankees we should have better players than this. I'm not here to just have a pity party and say, well, we want to be built like the Dodgers, but you guys should be moving probably more like they are than how we're moving.
Man, I will say
we're not conservative.
We're not doing that division, the NL Central, any favors with these losses to the Reds. That is going to be dead heat. The Cubs, Milwaukee, St. Louis, and Cincinnati all have over 40 games.
We're not doing ourselves any favors. You're talking
absolutely
about,
not.
You're
Boston's
talking about
5.5 back, and they have every tiebreaker in the world.
We want to poach players off the Brewers. You want to poach players off some of these teams. Well, the best way to not do that? How about losing to them and let them float above 500? That's part of what kills you by not beating these teams. Like people say games in June don't matter. Well, you know what happens when you get swept by teams or you give away games in June? Some of those teams you're like, oh, no, I really want that player from your team. They're like, we're like 2 out of a wild card. I'm not trading you a player. I heard Marcus Stroman was shelled in his rehab start.
He gave up 10 hits and 6 runs.
It's impressive.
And he was pitching well up until that point. I wonder if he had an injury or something, because that doesn't even make sense. How do you get shelled like that in Double A?
Tony La Russa.
You saw Tony La Russa?
Tony La Russa. Please.
Oh my God, man.
Not even gonna say what I want to say, but no.
Yeah. Anyway,
he's aged to vote. He's aged to run for president, but he's not. Can't manage the Yankees.
Man, the Tigers just keep dealing L's to us.
This is a good one. Alex Rodriguez. He did sue the team, so they're not going to let him do it. We love Alex at this podcast.
Yeah.
We do. We are the biggest. We're probably the biggest Alex Rodriguez fans of any podcast. But yeah, that's the reason he's not in Monument Park, by the way. It's the only reason is because of that event. So yeah, if you want him to manage, that's the reason it won't happen.
He was justified anyway. I'm just saying, but I will say this, that'd probably be the worst thing ever for our podcast. I'd have such a hard time. If he was the manager, I'd have such a hard time of staying neutral.
Yeah, I already know. I've liked him now for a while, but I'd hold him accountable. I promise you, I'd be used to it by that point. I'd be used to it as well. After like a month. I'd be like, this is awesome. This is awesome. Then all of a sudden he like brings in Johnny Lowe off rehab again and he just gives up a grand slam. I'd be like, he sucks. This is terrible. I promise you, there's no way. There's never been somebody I liked enough to just not shoot it to him straight. I don't think there's ever been that moment. I don't work that way. I don't.
Yeah, I would like to see. I see people saying Mattingly. I'd like to see him get his shot. I mean, I don't know. I would like to see Mattingly. I'd like to see Showalter. Some people would be like, "Oh, don't go back in the past," but it's like, well, you're complaining about the present, and you actually like Showalter was part of those teams that won those World Series. Like he didn't get credit for that, but he helped develop those teams. He did. And so, yeah, it'd be cool. I know people bring up Posada. He's been around the team. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The problem is, like, with the NFL, there's coordinators and, you know, position coaches and all that. Like, you have an idea, right? These guys go in pressers. You can listen to them talk. I don't know if these other dudes can manage. Like, I know... I get an idea just based on pressers of offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. Yeah, that guy can be a head coach. Yeah, that guy isn't going to cut it. You know what I mean? But like baseball, it's hard to really know. That's why I typically just say guys that have been there before. I don't think the Yankees would be smart to hire somebody that's never been a coach before necessarily, unless it was like somebody really intelligent and knew the game, like A-Rod. I don't think Jeter would ever be a manager.
It does help when you hit 330 and you hit 45 bombs. Makes you look really smart. But, yeah, let's get to these picks. I can already tell you off rip, we're probably not getting very good value off of money line. It's just not going to happen.
I don't understand why it's like that. Like,
I don't either, because we're not that much better than Cincinnati. As ridiculous as that sounds, we are not. Especially not right now.
It's always that rubber match, man. Or not rubber match. Like you lose the 2 games, you have the final game, and it's like, okay, so yeah, like it's hard to win 3 in a row. I get that, but putting money on the Yankees right now doesn't feel like a great idea. So yeah, strikeouts. I like Max Fried to go over 5.5.
I'm taking Ben Rice over 1.5 total bases. If he doesn't play tomorrow, I'm riding.
Okay, yeah, we'll just do that. And
I'll be marching the streets in New York if that happens.
And I'm going to take Jazz Chisholm as well. I'm going to take Ben Rice and Jazz Chisholm.
Okay.
I might take Ben Rice the rest of the year. No. You have to understand right now, James. I don't think you realize if Ben Rice sits tomorrow, I'm going to put a hole through a wall. Like,
so you're saying if you won our giveaway, you'd get a Ben Rice jersey?
Yes.
Okay. What do you want them to put in the comment section, by the way? We had a good one last time. People like that. Oh, I have a good one. I actually thought about it.
Well, why don't we just ask them who they'd want their manager to be if they fired Boone?
Or how about this? Obviously, who it would be interesting as well. Mm-hmm. But what I was thinking is, how long do you think the Yankees give Aaron Boone?
I like that one more.
Of a World Series, essentially not winning a World Series. How long do you think the Yankees allow him to go before they would ever dismiss this manager? I think that's an interesting question because it's not necessarily you calling for his job, but trying to do more of a prediction as to what our front office, or more so our ownership and how Steinbrenner would do. Because a lot of us think it's unacceptable to not win a World Series. I happen to be one of those people. But people get really mad at you when you call for someone's job, specifically your manager. They just do. They get mad. So be interested to see what people think. Yeah.
I don't think people are going to get mad. Yeah. So drop in the comments section how long you think he would last if he doesn't win a ring. And I think that's it. So be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Follow us on social media at our handles below, at JK Bogan, at Gary Sheffield Jr. And we'll see you guys tomorrow after Max Fried takes on Brady Singer, who always has really good starts against the Yankees. So awesome.
Yeah. Win something. Like this video.